Okay, so I'm well underway on my refret here. I have used a very fine tip to put glue in all the fret slots, and what was more time consuming than putting the frets in drop something again is getting this cap back on with that little piece of metal. Y'all, it's smaller than an E string on a guitar, and you insert it in that fine needle, and that keeps your tip clear. Inserted the super glue, cyanoacrylate if you want to get technical, I think is what it's called, in the slots. I gently hammered them in tapped them in with this brass hammer. We've given time. I think all the glue is set up. Now I'm coming back with nippers and just nipping the frets off. Now, the one side I've already clipped at an angle, so it's going to be very little fret shaping to do other than put the gentle slope on here on the other side. But this side I decided to let them run long, and I'm just going to file them in, you know, one at a time, and taking nipping. I need a little bigger pair of nippers, I believe. I guess I could use my lineman side cutting pliers. Okay, we've dressed up the ends a little bit. We still got some sharp edges. I'm going to take care of that right now. I had to get the neck taped to get to this point. If you don't want to be scratching up, you know, your original wood, and have to be refinished and all that. So I taped it all up, and I am going to now get to working on these fret ends and get them good and smooth and filed in. All right, so here it is. I've dressed the ends of the frets and beveled them, dressed them up good, did a little leveling on them, and nice and slick down the sides of the guitar. I'm trying to decide if I want to take the rest of the lacquer, because you can see most of the lacquer has worn off. I don't know if I want to sand this off and make it smooth, or just let it wear off on its own. I know one thing for sure, I'm not going to do any sand in there where that neck date is. But see, look right there, it's really so flaky that it kind of aggravates you playing. So I don't know, maybe I'll just let it wear off naturally. I mean, there's a little coming off every day, you know, for the last, 57 years. So I think I'll just let it wear off. And I was gonna go, I don't know if you can see, but where some of that rosewood popped out when those frets came out. Like I say, those frets were kind of popped out when I got it. There's a really bad spot right there. Now I may get a plug eventually and shape it to fill that and glue that back in, but all these little splinter places, I think I'm just gonna go over that rosewood fretboard. It's a Brazilian rosewood. I think I'm gonna go over it with just a coat of boiled linseed oil and just condition that. There's no telling how long it's been. since it's had some kind of oil on it, I mean, it looks dry. When I hit it with that boiled linseed oil, it'll darken up real nice. And I'm not going to worry about those splinters. Like I say, the body on this Strat has been refinished, and it's been filled with a block of wood and Bondo to fill the gaps. And it's just, you know, there's just no sense in, you know, mixing up some rosewood dust with some crazy glue or some super glue and filling all those little spots. I'm just not gonna do it. We're gonna get this thing playable, and we're gonna play the heck out of it, and it's gonna do me for the rest of my life and my family. We're not worried about collector value, obviously, or we wouldn't be spending the time we're spending on this. We're just getting it back running, and I'm really proud of my fret job. I used, you know, modern day, I probably should have used a little more, a wider fret. But guys, back in the, you know, early 60s, early mid 60s, that's the fret wire Fender was using. It's a little narrow and it's not very tall, and they got really low action on them. And part of that low action is attributable to not using frets that feel like railroad tracks, you know. And some people like that, I guess, but I don't. I like the vintage Fender. I bought these frets from Stuart McDonald, already bent with the neck radius in them, so I didn't have to have a roller to put the proper neck radius in there. And same way with the nut. I'm getting a nut that's pre-cut, and I'm hope it's going to glue right in here, because if I have to make one out of bone, I've got plenty of deer antler there. See, I'm still picking this lacquer off of this neck, but I've got some deer antler at home that I could make a nice nut out of. But y'all, I don't have nut files to file the proper width for the strings to pass through. Getting it to the length and width and the proper curvature on the bottom is one thing. I've got the old nut to go by for the curvature, and I guess I could use the old nut for the string spacing. But I've got nothing, you know, I'd have to buy files to fit the string sizes. So I just as soon buy one and put it in there. And I don't want anybody to think from watching these videos that I'm an amp tech or a luthier. I watch Rosa's String Works. I think that guy does amazing work. I watch Uncle Doug for the amplifier stuff. I watch the Guitarologist. He does amplifier work and a little guitar repair. And you know what I found out through the years? You know, I'm the guy that has fixed his own dryer and you know, just not been afraid to jump in and try something. And you know, as long as I've got a schematic and I've got a chart telling me on that schematic what tubes I need to get. I've got a tube chart inside the amp, tells me what tubes to use. I've got that schematic that tells me what power the capacitors are, how many volts, how many farads or microfarads or picofarads. I've got, as long as I've got, you know, something to tell me what power resistors needs to go in what spot, I can fix those things. But now if somebody brings one to me that's absolutely just tore up, you know, I'm not going to be able to figure that out. there's things I can do and things I can check that's boom, 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 common things. But if it gets into serious wiring or reading that schematic all the way through and knowing if something doesn't look right, because y'all, all these old Fender amps, they are continually finding schematics for different circuit designs, and almost no two amps follow those schematics. So you got to know electronics. And I'm not an amp tech. I'm not a guitar tech. I'm not a luthier. What I am able to do is maintain and do a little bit of repair on stuff I own, and on stuff you own. If if you're not scared for me to take a look at it, but don't be afraid to get in there, man. I've been watching these guys recap and rewire and amplifiers for four or 5 years on YouTube, and I finally decided what the heck, and get in there, and I'm telling you, man, it makes those old amplifiers, it just brings them back to life. Now, I've done wiring on guitars for 40 years, but that's just because a wire would break or something would happen, and it's out of necessity, out of survival, and everything you learn makes you a more rounded person. So don't be afraid to learn something, man. I like to learn something every day, and I don't know if I should go ahead and oil this neck now or wait till that nut comes and get it glued in good and then oil it, but I'm leaning toward right now. If nothing else, I can glue this in here with tight bond. It doesn't have to be super glue. I can put that in with tight bond, and I think that'll hold regardless of whether the wood's a little oily or not. I'll dry it out a little bit before. It's not going to be obviously puddled up in there, but yeah, don't be afraid to just get out there and try something. I love this stuff. I'm having fun with it, and I can make a little money doing it, and heck, make a little money doing something you like to do. I'm all about that. That's why I was a firearms instructor for 40 years. I love to shoot. So why not find a way to make some money at it, And that worked out well for me. Now, we got constitutional carry. Everybody's an expert. So, and with YouTube, they're an expert. So I'm finding other stuff to occupy my time, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. Peace out. I'm going to talk to you just a minute. Just a quick word about quality. Recently, I bought a big new batch of these Whirlwind instrument cables in different lengths. They cost a little more than the average guitar cable, probably about twice as much, but I want to show you why. In 1979, I went to Detroit, Detroit area, Plymouth, Michigan to be exact, to visit family. And of course they've got great music stores up there. So while I was up there, I had determined I was going to buy some good guitar cords, guitar cables, and I went to Arnold Williams Music that was on the, I believe it was on the corner of Ford Road and Canton Center Road there at that time. I don't even know if it's still there. but they were a pretty high quality music store, and I bought 3 of these Whirlwind cables. This is the longest one. This is an 18 footer, and y'all, 1979, you can see the insulation. The outside insulation is actually dry rotted, and this cable still works. Now, at the time I bought these cables, they were $1 a foot. And you say, well, $1 a foot's not bad. This was 1979. You could get a 20-foot guitar cable for like $4 if you just wanted a regular cable, standard quality. I bought 3 of these. I bought a 12-footer, an 18-footer, and I believe a 10-footer. And this is the only one that's left. I had one of them just came up missing. You know how musicians are. It's like an ink pen around a nurse. You know, don't let a nurse borrow your ink pen, because you're gonna lose that one. I can say that because I'm a nurse. But one of them I just lost, and one of them actually did get a short in it at some time, and I had to cut off a little bit of it and fix it. But y'all, I believe that on this 18-foot cord, this is still the factory soldering joints. John Bright's dad, Buddy Bright, who's a friend of mine for years, has a saying. He said that quality will be remembered long after price is forgotten. Well, I do remember the price of these cords, because you know, as a 16-year-old kid with his first electric guitar, it was a big expense to me, paying $1 a foot for guitar cords. It's 2022, and this cord still works. I'll put some footage in here. Same way with guns, same way with guitars. Buy good quality stuff. You'll never have cause to regret that. It will. Not only will you get good service out of it, should you decide to get rid of it later, you won't lose any money on it. And what made me decide on Whirlwind, I saw a close-up picture of Ace Frehley back in the 70s playing his Les Paul Custom, and he had that easily distinguishable Whirlwind cord plugged in, and I thought, you know what, it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. So I did have another curly one that was actually, I think when Greg and Tom played Hart Plaza in Detroit, Greg saw Hank Jr. using it, and because they played on the bill with Hank Jr., it was like a day-long thing, and somehow that made it home, made it home with him, and it was a curly Whirlwind, and you know, I had that and was using that until my shop burnt, and of course that did that cord. But man, buy good stuff. If you're gonna spend money on it anyway, spend a little more and get the good stuff, and it will serve you well. there is truth in the old saying, you get what you pay for. Thanks.